Hey gang, good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. If you haven't been here before, I'm the roaming prepper. My name is Pete, and I normally talk about preparedness as far as travel, remote locations, because I travel for work a lot, and I've had to be able to prep modularly on the road. But today's going to be a little bit more geopolitical, and I'm making this video because it concerns me in that it eventually can affect our preparedness. And I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me. I'll try to keep this short. I apologize for the sinuses. It's been a dust storm out here lately, and everything's in the air. So specifically want to talk about one of the presidential candidates, Mr. Trump, and the various attempts on his life. So as we all know by now, and this is, I'm going to date mark this, 26 September of 2024. So we had two attempts on Mr. Trump's life, a guy in Pennsylvania, a guy in Florida. A guy in Pennsylvania got on a rooftop, essentially a perfect sniper's perch. It was about 150 yards from the president with a long gun, fired off 8 shots, clipped his ear. The fact he didn't kill the man is just a miracle. Killed other people, damaged a bunch of equipment, sent people running, and he was dealt with by the security team. Complete failure of security. Second event, that was an announced event. The second time, it was an unannounced golf outing. Secret Service was at Mar-a-Lago, and the advance agent noticed a firearm peeking through the bushes. They said that one was a Kalashnikov, another long gun. The serial numbers were erased, and the agent fired at the individual. Individual took off. A member of the public saw what happened, managed to get a picture of the vehicle or the license plate, whatever. They ultimately, within a few hours, arrested that individual. Again, the security dealt with the problem, but he shouldn't have gotten that close. Like, what the hell happened there? Especially for an unannounced situation. So here we are, weeks later, and our media is saying, well, Iran has been making threats against Trump. Iran is funding things about Trump. And then, of course, the FBI is now saying, well, we can't hack into the first shooter's phone. Second shooter's phone is encrypted. He won't give us the encryption. Both of them. One had no social media profile, which is weird for a 22-year-old. Supposedly donated $200 to the Democrats. That's really irrelevant. It's just silly. Got his hands on a rather expensive AR because you can get cheap ARs. He didn't. He had a pretty bougie one. Took shots, failed, died. The second guy was all over social media. He was trying to recruit people for Ukraine, recruit people for this, that, and the other. He had a criminal record. He was a felon. Should never have been able to legally get a firearm, especially a Kalashnikov, but he did. The serial number was erased. He even had ceramic plates in a backpack against the fence as if to protect him from counterfire. And now they're saying, well, Iran may have had a hand in this. Iran has been making threats to Trump because he did blow up General Soleimani, and he really caused Iran a lot of headaches with funding and taking of money and cutting them off from the world. So Iran's not a fan. But I have a theory, and it's a horrifying one. What if the goal of some entity, we're going to call this entity X, whatever it is, a conglomerate, a company, a group of individuals, one individual, whoever, has decided, okay, Trump is a threat to my interests. I'm going to get these two random ass people, neither of whom is stable, get them long guns, one of whom should not have even been able to, and try to delete him. And had they been successful, would they have ultimately said, oh, you know what? Look what happened to my competition. Think of the other person running for president. Look what happened to my competition. This turned out to be Iran's fault. None of us can prove that, right? We're going to have to take their word for it. Iran did this to us. Iran's being a pain in the ass to our friend Israel now, and to the Saudis and a bunch of other allies. And they're aligning themselves with Russia, China, North Korea. Not something we want, right? Is it possible, complete conspiracy theory, is it possible that the intent of some power, some entity, was to delete one of the running candidates, then turn around and blame Iran as an excuse for us to go marching into Israel and go marching into the Middle East and go to war? Back when 9/11 happened, they had listed, I believe it was 7 countries. I think it was Rumsfeld who said it on a newscast. 7 countries that they wanted to collapse the government and change the regime. At the door. So anyway, continuing my thought. What if the original intent was to remove the competitor from the election? In doing so, the incumbent party would be able to say, look what we've done, look what happened. They would ultimately blame Iran. Like I was saying earlier, Iran is one of the 7 countries that back in 9/11, the US decided we were going to have regime change. Those included Iraq, the Sudan, Libya, Syria, and one of the last one on the list, the only one that has not been affected, is Iran. That's the one we'd never got to after a 20-year global war on terror. So my question to you is, folks, what would have happened? Would that have been the excuse to say, look what happened? Because immediately, the right and left would have started pointing fingers at each other. The intent was to go, no, look who did it. I'll refer you to my friend George Orwell. War is peace. Now, it sounds contradictory, but what they mean in that book is when a nation's at war with someone else internally, they're at peace because the people are unified behind the war front. And that is how you keep the people aligned with what the government wants or the leaders want. Because if you have peace for too long, the people start poking at each other. And then you have instability, or even worse, for these elites, the people start questioning what they're doing, and they wind up under a microscope. So was the intent to kill multiple birds with one stone, to remove a viable competitor from the election, to then blame one of the last countries remaining that Rumsfeld and Cheney and Biden and all those old school politicians 20 years ago decided was among the 7 we needed to have regime change in? Would it have been an excuse to unify the country behind a war? I don't know. This is purely hypothesis, but it's something to think about. I have never in my life seen this many incidents, failures for any election. And some of you are older than me. I bet you can think further back. Have presidents been assassinated? Sure. JFK, they shot Reagan, they killed Lincoln. There have been others that have died. But that's not the question. The question is right now, they're importing large numbers of people, but not properly vetting a lot of them. Among them are cartels and gangs. The gangs in Venezuela are in cahoots with the military and the government. They are one and the same, simply different branches of the same creature. Was this going to be an excuse to go to war with Iran, maybe go beat up on Venezuela as well, and create a new hegemony for America? I don't know. But it concerns me. Now, how does this affect us? General instability. A presidential candidate gets murdered, it's going to affect the markets, it's going to affect trade. Countries are going to react. That's going to affect trade, supply chain, and availability. Furthermore, if the market craters, money will have an inflationary effect upon it. Things will get harder to buy, and we'll all start struggling, and we'll wind up right back at the you'll own nothing and be happy phase of the universe. The truth is, there are people who'd love nothing more than to subjugate the lot of us and to make our lives such that we never save, we never earn, we never own. We are simply peons, peasants, as these new global aristocrats take power. This was a kind of a deep subject, ladies and gentlemen, so I apologize if it was a little deeper than you guys were thinking, but it's very important to think about this. How would the streets have been? Would people have fought with each other? Would it have been an excuse for martial law? Removal of First and Second Amendment rights? Imprisonment of people under the Patriot Act? When they suddenly decide, oh, you're now a terrorist, it can take you to jail and not give you a phone call for a week. During that time, who knows how you're treated? Who knows what you'll say when you haven't slept for 5 days? Something to think about. In any case, I'll leave you with that very dark thought. Pay attention, prep, stay on budget, pay down debt, and be ready to defend you and yours if you have to. But this whole election cycle stinks to high heaven, even worse than 2020. And we need to be ready for whatever it throws our way. Until next time, God bless, Godspeed, and I'll see you all later.